I want to talk to you for a few minutes this morning, if I might, about this parable, because it has to do with not only who we are, but what we're about in our community and in the world today. Jesus here is simply comparing the person who professes to do right with the person who doesn't do right at all. And he's comparing, you could say, he's comparing the non-Christian with the Christian in the world today, and trying to help us to see that we are all God's stewards in the world today. There are no exceptions at all. You may think they are, but they're not. And someday, we will all be called to give an account of our stewardship. He will simply say to us, your stewardship has come to an end now. Give an account of your life. Over the years, I've known many men, many women, been with them when they've passed away and when they've died. They have all come to the point where they realized that this message was so true and so real. The time had come for them to give an account of their stewardship, for they no longer could be stewards. Death was knocking at the door, and they had no power within themselves to turn it away. It was there, it was going to stay there, and it was going to take one of them with him. And so we find ourselves at that point sometime in our lives. We need to realize that he's called us in time to give an account of our stewardship. Now, there's one word in here that he uses to sort of explain everything he's talking about, and that's the word shrewd. And the word shrewd literally means something sharp, wise, or artful. Something sharp, wise, or artful. It means that in this setting. The people of this world, he said, that is, the people who are not believers, are shrewder than those who say they are believers and live in the world today. And so he's saying that they're sharper, wiser, more artful in what they say, in what they do, and consequently will give a better account than those who are the believers in time. Now, it raises the whole concept of stewardship for us. And what does stewardship mean to us? A lot of times when we think about stewardship, we think about money, don't we? We talk about money. But it's far broader than money, because stewardship believes that time is important as well. We must give an account of our stewardship. Stewardship. Let me explain to you, if I can, by an illustration. A man knocked at the door one day of the parsonage and told me who he was, and he said, I need help. I said, what's going on? I could see he must have been at least in his 60s, maybe 70. And he said, I need help. And he said, I'm here because God called me when I was in my early 20s to be a minister. And I said, no, Lord, I'm not going to do that. And he said, I don't know what to do now because I'm coming to the end of life and I'll have to face God. What am I to do, preacher? How would you advise him? I simply said, I'm sorry, I don't have any good advice for you. No good advice for him. There wasn't any. because time-wise, he had wasted all those years doing something other than what God had asked him to do with his life. Now, God doesn't call everyone to be ministers. God calls some people to be factory workers. God calls some people to be teachers. God calls some people to work in the church. And God calls us all to love and to care for others in the world today. That's the kind of caring that we can give as people of God. There are some things in terms of time that God has given to all of us to do and to be about. We all have the same amount of time, right? Well, I thought we did anyway. We have what? Yeah, all right. We have 24 hours a day, right? 7 days a week, and so forth and so on. And so we all have the same amount of time. The problem, the thing we need to ask ourselves, what am I doing with that time? Is that what you're doing at that time? You didn't see that, huh? Huh? Well, I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying when we use that phone and neglect other things that are more important by far than what we're doing, we are wasting our time. And time is something that you cannot call back. Hear me. You cannot call it back. Ask Stanley. Right, Stanley? You can't call time back. Ask me. You can't call time back. It moves. It's here today. It's gone tomorrow. So, time. You must give an account of your stewardship, the time that I've given you. You have what you have because I've given you that time. What have you done with it? Secondly, stewardship entails talents. It believes that talents is a part of who we are and what we are for God in the world today. Now let me say to you, we live in a world where some people are more talented than other people. I don't have to tell you that I know for a fact that there are some pastors better preachers than other pastors. And there's some pastors worse preachers than other pastors. Their talent differs in what they do. It's so in factory work. It's so in school teaching. It's so in everything in life. There's abilities that we have or do not have. But that doesn't mean that we ought to neglect the talent that God has given us to use that for His glory in the world today. He has called us and given us talent. Now, I don't know whether or not God has spoken to you about what you ought to do. But I can tell you this, He's told you, because Christ has told us, to love. Love is something that's far beyond anything we could ever say or do. It goes way beyond. God has called us to care for others. He has called us to help where there's help needed. He's called us to be present when our presence is needed and counted for in life. Our talents are all to be used for His glory. The question is, I think, in all of this, when you think about talents, the question is, do I glorify God in the talents I have and are using for Him in the world today? I hope you are. Lastly, but not least, is money. Money is very important to us. We live in a world where God has blessed us, some to make 10,000 a year, some to make 20, some to make 40, some to make 50, some to make 80, some to make 1,000, million, 2 million, on and on. But all of us are not made. We're not gifted in a way that we could all be millionaires. We're millionaires in a different way. We're millionaires because we are the children of God. But money-wise, we're not that. We're not going to be there at all in any sense of the word. The question is, what am I doing with the money that I have? It doesn't make any difference whether you make 10,000 or 20 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 100 or 500 or a million. It doesn't make any difference. We all are required to give 10% of that income to Him. It belongs to Him. Believe me, it belongs to Him. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to Him. The other 90% He has given you to use because He has blessed you with the talent and time in order to do something with what He has given you in life. The other day, a certain pastor said to me, was talking about Beckley Temple, and he said to me in talking that all the people in Beckley Temple know how to do, he'd been pastor there, that know how to do is to give money and raise money. And he was saying that to put me down because I'd been there and taught them about that. Well, it is true. But you don't give money without knowing what it means to live in the world in which you live today. We all know that. We all know where we live and what it is that we give. You can't take it with you. You know, someone said to me about Elder Ann down here. I don't mind mentioning her this morning. Elder Ann and her friend gave the UL Church over $150,000 on that building. And someone said, well, where'd she get that money? I said, I don't have the slightest idea where she got it. But she had it. And the thing is, she gave it. Are you hearing? She gave it. There are a lot of people that have some but won't give it. So, we live in a world where He expects us to tithe. Bring ye all the tithe into the storehouse, and prove me herewith, saith the Lord, if I won't pour you out a blessing, that you'll not be able to receive. Think of that. I know I've told you this, I'm going to tell you again. Shortly after I was converted, God spoke to me and said, Parker, I'd never heard a sermon on tithing like I'm talking to you this morning. Never heard that. God said to me, Parker, I want you to become a tither because I read in the Bible that I ought to tithe. And I said, Lord, how in the world could I tithe with a wife and 2 kids on what I'm making today? How in the world can I do that? I thought about that and prayed about that and prayed about that. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And finally, I was on my knees one day praying about it. And I asked God, Lord, what am I to do about this? And God said this. It's very simple. Are you going to do it or are you not? If you do it, I'll take care of you. If you don't do it, you're in trouble. The next morning when next Sunday came around, I was sitting about 3rd or 4th seat on my right, your left. The offering place came by, and I put my tithe in the offering. I want you to hear me. It was one of the greatest religious experiences that I've ever had in my life. Why? Because I suddenly realized while I couldn't go to the mission field, I could send someone. Are you listening? I'm not going to the mission field, but I can send someone. Now, you may not believe this, and believe what you want to about it, but at least 90% of every dime we give to the conference goes toward the work of missions. Toward the work of missions. It's a powerful thing that we can give to the church. And what one person can't do, all of us can do. When we pool our efforts and our energy and our monies and our talents and our time together to do His work, marvelous things happen. Don't you know? It does. Oh, Jesus said, the people who are not of my kingdom are wiser than those who are. We need to be people who are shrewd people. We need to be people who are sharp and wise and artful for Him and for His glory. If we'll do that, you'll be blessed. The church will be blessed. There'll be rejoicing in heaven because you can't go, but you can send someone. And Lord knows there's a great need for people out there. Right? All right. Well, when you think about stewardship now this morning, remember the time's coming. There's nothing you can do about it except do it now. But the time's coming when He's going to say to you, give an account of your stewardship. You can no longer be steward. God help us. Amen.